Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about a new CDM targeted by Manchester United from RB Leipzig. The Pochettino positivity spin continues and Erik ten Hag starts to get some negativity and positivity against his name. Are we now starting to see what many of us suspect is that United are desperately trying to salvage some sort of positivity around Pochettino to one final push to see if they can get him in place over Erik ten Hag? We'll talk about that. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I've probably broken my own world record here for being live talking and not realising. I had a big old rant at the start of it for 3 minutes and then I realised I wasn't live. So that's wasted time no one will ever get back or even be able to watch. But look, lots to fly into. So some sort of headlines that we'll delve into. Story in The Independent about Pochettino being more charismatic in his interview than Erik ten Hag. I mean, you know what? Charismatic in an interview. What did he do? Bring Murta and Fletcher some Krispy Kremes and start doing Gary Barlow impressions. Absolutely fantastic, Darren. I don't know what. I don't know. Charismatic. Was he juggling apples? Like, at the end of the day, we're looking for a fucking manager. We're not looking for Mr. Charisma. Like, Van Gaal was very charismatic. There are charismatic managers out that have failed. I'm not interested in this charisma. But there are positive stories from Sky Sports as well about Erik ten Hag today. We'll give you that in a moment as well. So we'll get up to date with the managerial situation. But I want to talk to you about this story that I was going to talk to you about last night. Then I had to put it off. This morning I had to put it off. So we can get into it now. Manchester United. Sun exclusive just dropped. United have begun transfer conversations with Erik ten Hag and Neves has become a priority. Erik ten Hag wants him, says Dan. I don't know whether that's exclusive or not. I don't know who's writing it in The Sun. Maybe you can tell us if that's true or not. But I want to carry on with my show and not get ambushed by what could be absolute shite. So there's enough of that for me to talk. But no, I want to talk about Konrad Laimer. I can't pronounce his name. It could be Konrad Laimer, actually. Austrian midfielder. Now, this was mentioned in relation to Bild yesterday. They said that Ralf Rangnick is a big advocate of Manchester United moving for Konrad Laimer and bringing him into Manchester United. The Mail today are saying that Manchester United are interested in him. Now, the interesting thing about Konrad, and I'm going to say Konrad Laimer, was in the Stretford End on Saturday, and that performance made me sick, especially the pro-Maguire chanting, says James Bellow. And I've no idea why people want Poch. What has he won? It's like they don't want to improve, says Even Whelan. You know what I think about the Harry Maguire support at the weekend, just very, very quickly? I thought it was good. Got no problem with fans make their own mind up what they want to do, what they want to chant about. I would never tell people to do what they, do what you want. But I do think it shows the power of the media and the power of the club that they can make a fan base just cheer for a player that's not actually been that good for us recently out of sympathy. And I think that's what it was all about. And it just shows you, I've got no problem with that. If I'd have been in there, I probably would have applauded him as well. So I'm not being a hypocrite here. I just think it just shows how we still can be manipulated by the media and by the club in what they want. And I think maybe at the moment they're trying to push us down the Pochettino route. So, a massive fan base can still be pushed in a direction. And look, we live in a world now where we have got social media, we've got more of a voice. Imagine what it was like 10, 20 years ago when you didn't have that. Just imagine how manipulated you could be then. Unbelievable how long we drag and spin things all the time. When Man City wanted Pep, they got him way through their first season, says Reese. Well, look, let's talk about Konrad Laimer. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's 5'11". He's a midfielder. Now, the interesting thing I would say about Konrad Laimer is when I saw that United are looking at him and I saw people going, oh yeah, he's better than Matic, this, that and the other. He's not a CDM. I don't even think he is a CDM. And we need a CDM. So I was like, well, why would Rangnick want him? And then I was thinking, you know what? Are we being a little bit one-dimensional here? Literally one-dimensional. Declan Rice, Tchouaméni. Have we got a fixation that we've got to play a 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder when actually we can do what other teams do in Europe and in this country? We could play with a two. And that's when Laimer becomes very, very good to me. I think as a standalone holding midfielder. I mean, if you don't know anything about Laimer, he plays for Leipzig, Austrian international. I haven't watched loads and loads about him, but when I look at him, and I ran some stats through on him as well, so we can compare him to Rice and Tchouaméni. When I look at him, he is just like ridiculous energy, ridiculous closing down, really loves a tackle. But look, he likes to shoot as well. I think he would be... In a high-pressing team, this player would be perfect. I think that if we don't get Laimer, I can see him going to a Spurs for maybe 30 million and he ends up being like Højbjerg. Not an identikit, but a really good signing for a really good fee. I don't think it's the sort of signing Man United do. So I would love United to sign Laimer because I don't think it's the sort of signing that we go for. We'd rather spend double the money on somebody who's going to sell us some shirts who's English than actually have a look on the continent on somebody that's a little bit less known. But he is not a sit-back holding midfielder that's going to sit there behind a Pogba and Bruno and run your midfield for you. I think he's way too energetic for that. But in a midfield 2 or a box-to-box role, he'd be fantastic. And in a midfield 2, what I'm thinking is maybe this is the way that Man United need to play. Maybe you play a 2 there. Maybe you play a Donny and a Laimer there. Maybe you play a Fred and a Laimer there. You know, maybe even maybe not a McTominay at the moment. His stock's not very rise. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's a specialist CDM that you drop in on his own. But maybe Man United don't need that anyway. What if we buy Declan Rice and he does his knee in the first month and he's out for the season? We're back where we are now. Maybe United need to just in the first phase is have two midfielders. Maybe that's what Manchester United need to do. And ultimately, when you look at teams like Liverpool and Man City and even Ajax and even sometimes with Pochettino, they don't necessarily just play one holding midfielder. And maybe that we've got locked into this. We need a specialist CDM that can just sit there like Michael Carrick used to. But actually, maybe we need 2. Maybe we need an intelligent 2 that can press from the right and the left. They can also attack as well. Bit of intelligence. You sit and I'll go forward. And in that situation, I think Laimer would be a really, really good signing. And maybe that is the evolution that we're looking at. From a German native speaker, you can pronounce him like Konrad Laimer, says Delicate Official. Thank you very much. So look, I am intrigued by this. What I would say is just to run a few stats through on him. I've compared him to Declan Rice, Tchouaméni, Brozovic, and obviously Laimer this season. Successful attacking actions per 90, 2 for Rice, 2 for Tchouaméni, 2 for Brozovic, 3.3 for Laimer. So you can see that he is way more an attacking player than those players. But then if you look at him defensively as well, successful defensive actions per 90, 9.5 for Rice, 11.6 for Tchouaméni, 10.1 for Brozovic, 10.9 for Laimer. So he's above Rice and Brozovic for his defensive work output as well. Defensive duels per 90, 11.6 for Laimer, 7.7 for Brozovic, 7.9 for Tchouaméni, 5.9 for Rice. So look, he's all action. He's got better attacking stats than the Rice, Tchouaméni and Brozovic, but he's way more active defensively than them. But I don't think we know Declan Rice sits. I think with Laimer, people will go, oh, get him, he's a great all-rounder. But when I think of Laimer, I think of Kante. I think of a prime Steven Gerrard. I'm not saying he's as good as Kante or Gerrard, but I think he's more that type of midfielder. He's a bit like a Brian Robson. He's a bit all action, and I'm not comparing him to Robson either. He's definitely not a sit in front of the back 4 and let everyone do what they want to do. You'd be completely missing the point of what this lad's about. He's high energy. You can't just sit there in front of your back 4. So therefore, I think that obviously he's playing in the Bundesliga. I've just compared the French League, the Italian League and the Premier League. But what I'm trying to say is I would love him to come to Manchester United. There's a few reasons why as well, but I'd love him to come to Manchester United. I think he's the right sort of signing for a new United. It's sort of down that Ten Hag, Rangnick move, of course. But he's not a sit and holding midfielder. He's too energetic for that. I think we'd have to play with 2, which I wouldn't mind Man United doing. I mean, I wouldn't mind Manchester United doing that. We effectively did it under Ollie. We played McTominay and Fred, but they just sat in front of the back 4. What I would like to see is a midfield 2 that pushes the team up and presses. And in a pressing system, Laimer, I mean, one of the big things you get about Konrad Laimer is his energy levels are ridiculous. And he's only got 1 year left on his contract as well, which is another tick in the box. His contract's up in 2023. Ralph Rangnick's got great connections with Leipzig. You'd probably get him for 30 million quid. £30 million on a midfielder of that potential quality, 24 years of age as well. He'd be hungry. I mean, you've spent £30 million and you bought a really good midfielder in. This is the sort of signing. This is the way. Mark, if Ten Hag and Poch off the table, who would you pick? Says James Bellow. I don't really think. I don't know whether there is anything we can do there. He's definitely a Ten Hag type of player, Marvin. He's definitely a Rangnick type of player. He's definitely set in that sort of a mould, 100%. I don't think Pochettino would be looking at him. So yeah, obviously it does lean towards that. But I think it's the sort of forget the player for a minute. 1 year left on his contract. Really good reputation across Europe as a player to take that next step. Not going to be massively bothered about coming to Manchester United if we're not in the Champions League. And it's the right profile of player. Instead of chucking 80, 90 million at West Ham or Spurs for an England international where we're just paying them to come to the club. I think we've got to move in a different direction. Well done, Mark, says Lucas. Don't know what I've done, but thanks for the credit. Sammy says he's a good player, but I wouldn't say he's United level. That's a really good question, Sammy. And if we just win the league, I'd agree with you. But how can you say a player's not United level? You're living in the DNA past, aren't you? It's in the DNA, DNA, it's in the DNA. I mean, we've got McTominay playing in the midfield, who passes the ball less than my dead gran. He passes it more, but he doesn't pass it much. We've had Fred in there for a few years. We're absolutely ridiculously crap. I don't think there is any such thing as a United level at the moment. I know what you mean, Sammy. I mean, I think you're basically saying that we have a standard of player that should play for Manchester United. That's not going to happen this summer. We're going to have to build back to that standard. The standard of United player is very low. It's at the lowest I think I've ever known it. We've got to build our way back up there. And people like Laimer who come in for the next 2 or 3 years, maybe that's the right sort of play we need to go to build the levels back to where they need to be. So look, keep an eye on that. Definitely something in it. It's come from Bild in Germany and it's come from the Mail in England. 1 year left on his contract. Rangnick will have good connections there. I definitely think it's a player that Rangnick's put forward. I definitely think it's a player that Erik ten Hag would like. But it doesn't mean we're going to go for him. But I certainly think it's the sort of signing we should be looking at. So, right, let's move on to the managerial updates because I know a lot of people want that. I just fancied something a little bit different to open up the show. And we will talk about... Where should we talk? We'll start off with the... Should we start off with the positive? Let's start off with a positive. So we've spoken about this guy before. Let me just get you his name because it would be very, very rude of me if we didn't. So Marcel van der Kraan, who is a writer with De Telegraph, which I must emphasise again. I'm not trying to say The Telegraph in Irish. De Telegraph. It's De Telegraph, which is a Dutch outlet. So Marcel van der Kraan, who's a Dutch journalist, he's been on Sky Sports today, and he says that names have been mentioned about Erik ten Hag's potential assistants. Robin van Persie, Jaap Stam, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ollie. Only Jaap Stam is available at the moment. There has to be some kind of Dutch Manchester United connection for ten Hag to take the job. Obviously, we heard that in relation to Steve McLaren. Obviously, he's managed it before. Ten Hag is in talks with Manchester United now and has been in talks with them before, and we think those talks are now coming down to the final stages of the whole contract. And effectively, this has been on Sky today. This is, as I say, a Dutch journalist, and the overarching thing from this is that because Erik ten Hag because this information is coming out. The feeling is that this is coming towards the sort of latter stages of the deal, and that these conversations that Erik ten Hag is having is probably because this deal is starting to come towards its conclusion. So a bit of a positive story there. I'm not going to deny that. I think it's very interesting, certainly. And it's a Dutch journalist saying that. So why would he be looking at these things and transfers, etc., if there wasn't a big expectation that he potentially was going to get the job? Another quote as well. In Holland, Ten Hag has been sounding out 1 or 2 members in Dutch football with a background at Manchester United, whether they are prepared to join him and get there if he gets the job. There was another comment I wanted to look at. So look, I think it's look, Erik ten Hag is in the race. We know he's in the race. Do you want to get overly positive about that, or do you just want to think it's Erik ten Hag sounding out people in case he does get the job? On the other hand, you've got a story coming out from the Independent around the situation, and what they have said is, let me just read this out to you because I want to get it verbatim. Erik ten Hag told Manchester United he believes the job is a 5-year project during his interview, and that the first element he would look to correct is physical conditioning. Manchester United are also conscious of the mixed record of figures adapting from the Dutch league and the split within their own playing squad over the manager's credentials. Ten Hag, in the words of one source, is Ten Hag, in the words of more than one source, has not blown people away within the Manchester United playing staff. And also that there was also a comment about charisma. Apparently Pochettino was more charismatic in his interview than Erik ten Hag. So look, I think I think where we're at with this at the moment is where many of you would predict we're at. There is a 2-horse race, and within that race, Erik ten Hag is still the very popular opinion to get the job. If there were people within Manchester United that wanted Pochettino to get the job, 100% they're going to start putting stories out there to try and undermine Ten Hag and advance a Pochettino positive story. But they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle with that. And if they were trying to do that, you would get silly little stories about charisma in an interview. And as I said, I don't care if Erik ten Hag came in and was quite stern on what Man United need to do, and Pochettino came in, with a bag of apples for Darren and John Murtagh to chomp on and, wash their car on the way out. Charismatic, begging, I don't really care. Ultimately, this should be about football, and there's nothing. The decision is the decision. You either go down a new route with Erik ten Hag, or you go down a tried and tested route with Pochettino. And I'm not going to put my sway on that, but I think it's very, very clear to anybody who looks at this situation. If you go for Pochettino, the warning signs are there, the positives are there. Yes, he took Spurs to a Champions League final. Yes, he's failed at PSG. Yes, he ultimately got sacked at Spurs. Yes, there's a big question mark about whether he was at the top of the mountain with Spurs 4 years ago and he's on his way down. Yes, he ultimately bottles big games. Yes, his record against the top clubs in a division is not very good. Yes, he's Premier League proven. I mean, that we all know about that. Yes, basically, it's quite a similar appointment without the trophies on their CV to Mourinho. Premier League proven, sacked by other clubs. Is he still got the magic? With Erik ten Hag, yeah. Man City, Liverpool would want him if they were replacing Klopp and Pep. Yes, his style of football is very modern and very exciting. Yes, he's got a fantastic CV. He's been a reserve coach under Pep Guardiola in Germany. He's done great things at Ajax. He's built teams there. He's developed youth there. His football's really, really good. Has he got any experience in the Premier League? No, he's not. Is there a risk with that? Of course there is. There was a risk with Klopp at Liverpool. There was a risk with Pep at Man City. New direction, more of the same. That's the choice that Manchester United have. They can spin about charisma. They can spin about his bold. They can spin about his dress sense. They can spin about his grasp of English. But ultimately, this decision is the decision that we know it is. It comes down to, what are you going to do? Are you going to go with more of the same and hope it works? Or are you going to go for a brand new direction and see what happens? And that's what it comes down to. And United can dress it up all they like. And the media can spin it all they like. One way or the other. And the fan base can be massively Ten Hag and not massively Poch. But ultimately, we don't make the decision. The club does. And they better make sure they make the right one. Because if they make the wrong one, collectively, they're all to blame. And that's the big decision to make. And I'm not attaching a name to that blame in relation to the manager. But look, in all honesty, if I was sat on that United board and I had to make this decision, and I've got some people saying Ten Hag and I've got some people saying Poch, and it's down to me, I'm going to look at it and go, right, we are a business, not a football club. I'm the CEO now, so obviously I'm playing a role. So if I'm Man United CEO or I'm Man United owner, this is about making money, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to make money. Right, how do I make money? TV deals, fan positivity. These are the big things. Fans' eyes on brands. How do I get fans' eyes on brands? They've got to be positive. When we put out the winning team photos, the fans have got to be happy about it. When I get my head of social media to run around the pitch with his phone to get a Ronaldo goal, we need loads of interaction on that. We need Ronaldo to score first. You need positivity in your customer base if you want to make money. So if I'm the CEO of Manchester United and I've got, get Poch, get Ten Hag, I'm going to go, right, I'm never going to invest enough money in this team for us to win titles. So I need as much excitement as I can get for the cheapest price. That's what I need. I'm going to go with the choice that is going to cause me the least amount of grief. And the choice that's going to bring the most excitement and the least amount of grief is clearly Ten Hag, isn't it? Because Pochettino is going to be met with lukewarm positivity. And the minute we get some bad results, people are going to go, we never should have got him in the first place. He's a joke. It's got the potential to go sour very quickly, and it won't have the excitement value of Ten Hag, who, when it does go a little bit wrong, people will go, well, it's a long job. He always said that. So from a money-making point of view, Erik ten Hag is the right choice because it's going to bring the most positivity and it's going to bring the most patience. So if I'm in charge of the club, and I'm not Mark Goldbridge here saying get ten Hag because I think he's the better footballing choice, from a business point of view, I would go for Erik ten Hag. You're going to get a massive amount of positivity from day one, and you're going to get more patience so that you can make more money from positivity for a longer period of time. With Pochettino, we already know there's a lot of people who don't want him, and there's not going to be a lot of patience with him because of that, and that doesn't bring positivity. Also, when you look at the comparisons of the transfers, I think Pochettino is going to want more. I think Pochettino is going to be more expensive in wages. I've never heard anybody talk about this yet as well. Surely Pochettino's wage packet is much bigger than Erik ten Hag. I would imagine if Pochettino's on 5 million a year, ten Hag's probably on 2.5 million. So his wages are going to be cheaper. I also think his transfer budgets are going to be bigger as well. I think Pochettino probably wants Harry Kane. Ten Hag probably gets you 3 players for that. So I think from a business perspective, ten Hag is the right choice. And I don't think anybody's spoken about this because they don't want to. We want to, as fans and pundits. I think we're all in agreement here. We're talking about this managerial position from a footballing point of view. What's better for Manchester United? What's the most which scenario gives us the most likelihood of getting back to where we need to be? 100% correct debate to have. We're talking about football. Some people want Poch, some people want ten Hag. Absolutely fine. Brilliant conversation. We've been talking about it for weeks. But no, I haven't heard anybody look at this from a business point of view because we are a business. Manchester United is a business. Whether we like it or not, it's a fact. We are a business. And when you look at it from a business point of view, it's probably easier than the football side. And I personally think it's easy from a football decision. I would go with ten Hag. Break slow sports news. But from a business point of view, ten Hag's the right choice anyway. Because you're going to generate more positivity, which generates more money. And also, he's cheaper. His wages will be cheaper. I think his transfer targets will be cheaper. So maybe that's why there are people within the club that want ten Hag. It might not just be football, it might be business. If ten Hag doesn't work, I won't think we missed a trick with Poch. If we went with Poch and he didn't work, I would think we'd missed a trick with Erik ten Hag, says Michael. Well, it's an interesting way of looking at it, Michael, because my personal feeling here is, taking away any bias I have, and looking at what Michael said there, and I'd be interested to know what you think in the chat. If we go with Poch, I don't think we'll ever get ten Hag, because I think he will go somewhere else and build something else somewhere, whether that's Dortmund, whether he waits a year and he does it in England. I think he'll be gone and we will never get him. If we go with ten Hag and it doesn't work out, I still think there's a possibility that Pochettino could come to this club, because I think after PSG, if United don't... Well, let me put it this way. If we don't appoint ten Hag, is he going to get another big job? Yes. Yes. Maybe not in England, but yes, he will. If we don't appoint Poch, is he going to get a big job? No, he's not. Where's he going? Where's Pochettino going after PSG if we don't give him a lifeline? He ain't going to Chelsea. He ain't going to Liverpool. He ain't going to Man City, even if they replace their coach. He ain't going to Real Madrid. That ship sailed now. They're not going to go for him. He ain't going to Barcelona. They're not going to go for him. In Italy, I'm not sure his style of football works in Italy, but he ain't going to get a job in Italy. He's not going to get Juventus, is he? He's not going to get Bayern Munich. I think Pochettino's next job, if United don't take him, and I do think you need to take this into account. Again, I've not heard anybody say this. If you take Man United out of the equation, what's ten Hag's next job? It's probably Dortmund. It could be a Chelsea or something like that. It could be a big club. What's Pochettino's next job? I think it's Valencia. I think it's Napoli. I think it's Everton. I don't think it's a big club. If we lose out on ten Hag, we will be in the cycle for another 10 years, and it will be a very long time before we win a league, says McQuain. It might be a very long time anyway. He could go back to Spurs if Conte walks out, yeah. And look, I wouldn't rule that out. I would not rule that at all. PSG are getting a new manager. Mbappe is changing his mind based on what their project is, and it ain't Project Poch. I think PSG are getting Zidane or Conte. And if Conte leaves, Pochettino could well end up back at Spurs. If Enrique was available, would you choose him or Erik ten Hag, says Anita. I tell you what. Breaking news, and it's not slow sports news. Imagine Conte goes to PSG, Poch goes to Spurs, Erik Ten Hag comes to Man United. Poch against Erik Ten Hag would be a very interesting game, wouldn't it, next season? But having said that, I think Spurs would be starting from a stronger base than us. If Enrique was available, would you choose him over Ten Hag, says Anita? No, I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't. I think that my decision on Erik Ten Hag was probably, 5-6 weeks ago now. I said, that's it. I'm all in on him. And there's nothing that had swerved me away from that now. I think I'm invested in that appointment. I'm not saying that Luis Enrique isn't a better coach. I'm not saying that there could potentially be better coaches out there available. But no, I'm all in on this now. I want this to happen. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's a new direction with the right at the right time, with the right man and the right philosophy. I think we've got to give it a go, and I'm all in on that. So no, I wouldn't veer away for another manager now. I think this is the right thing to do. Mark, Ten Hag's story in The Sun about Job and Neves is true, but reporter isn't Custis. So Andy and Bruno says there. Well, I'll have a look at that. Look, I don't really listen to The Sun unless it's got anything to do with well, I've got the article here. Let's just have a quick look. Let's have a look. So, it's written by Jordan Davies. Never heard of him. Erik Ten Hag will make Ruben Neves one of his number one targets if he is appointed Man United boss. The Red Devils have tried to sign the Wolves midfielder in the past. That's just a load of shit. Load of shit. If. That's the word, isn't it? Ruben Neves, if. I think the story on Laimer is far more interesting. How's the back, Mark, says Breen? Well, it's all right at the moment, but obviously I'm doing... we'll be back at 7 o'clock tonight on the show, and then I've got 8 o'clock on That's Football. I think yesterday I just did a lot of streaming. I sat down a lot. Poch is like a better-looking Emery. No big club again, says TJ McManus. And also, yeah, there was something else I wanted to talk about. I've completely forgotten what it was. Oh, Anthony Martial. I did want to bring this in. So, it's not breaking news. It's a bit slow spurts news. But Anthony Martial's loan at Sevilla is not going well. They certainly don't want to buy him. And he'll be heading back to Manchester United as things stand. Very disappointing. Hard to attract players without Champions League next season, says Even. I don't think it is. I think there's plenty to be negative about Manchester United. But I really very rarely get on board with we won't be able to attract players. We'll always be able to attract players. And we're starting from such a low position. This team is so bad that it's not like, oh God, we'll only be able to get players that are good enough for fifth. Well, we'd probably take that at the moment. We're in a rebuild. We've got to rebuild. And I think that the sort of people we're going to have to look at is not from the top shelf, which sometimes isn't a bad thing. I don't think Man City and Liverpool are where they are because they bought top shelf signings. How many top shelf signings have Liverpool bought under Klopp? Mane wasn't considered a top shelf signing. Salah wasn't. Fabinho wasn't. I mean, they spent a lot on Van Dijk. Alisson really wasn't. Man City, top shelf signings, not really. Gabriel Jesus wasn't. Sterling, well, he was a good player, but you don't have to. Good development, good scouting, good coaching. You don't need to go top shelf. Top shelf could be confusing people. A few people will be thinking different things here. Mark, are you still at 70% for Ten Hag? I still can't believe the club would drag this out, says Oz. I think logically it's still 70% in Erik Ten Hag's favour, but I'll be honest with you, last 24 hours I feel that there is a little bit of an effort coming from somewhere to undermine the Ten Hag popularity. My fear is that they're trying to grind people down. They're trying to grind down the pro Ten Hag movement and just beat people into submission that it will be Poch. But you've got to fight up against that, haven't you? Just because we haven't appointed a manager yet doesn't mean that the passion to get that manager in needs to subside. Love the new head-to-head exclusive content. Keep up the good work, says Martin. Yeah, if you want to join the members club, we will have a new exclusive head-to-head coming for you. I think it's going to be Rashford against Anthony. That should be out tomorrow. So if you're a member, you will get that exclusively. Click the join button. Thanks everyone who supports the channel. But back on to Anthony Martial. I think this is indicative of the bigger problem at Manchester United. Let's pretend we're not talking about Ten Hag or Pochettino. Let's pretend we're just talking about a new manager at Manchester United. And this new manager comes in and they've got great ideas. This is how we're going to get big again. and Viagra FC. And he's speaking to the board, and the board says, look, we really want to back you, but there's a massive problem here. And it's sort of our fault, and we don't know how to solve it. And as the new manager, you go, what's the problem? Well, Anthony Martial's back in training. Yeah, I don't really want him. Yeah, problem is, he's on 250 grand a week, and nobody wants to buy him. And his contract's running for another 2 or 3 years. What? Any chance you want to use him? Not really. He doesn't want to be here. He's clearly not really wanted by the fans anymore. He's a vision of the past, and I think we need to, in a new movement, we need to be new. So, what are you going to do for me? Well, nobody will buy him because of his wages. We're going to lose lots of money to get rid of him. We'll do it. Well, we don't really want to do that. We'll put him out on loan then. Oh, yeah, all right. So, but the problem is, it's not just Anthony Martial. United have accumulated a lot of expensive mistakes, and Martial's going to be one of them. Look, Wan-Bissaka, what's happening with him? Is he now an expensive mistake? Are we actually going to turn him into a decent player? We might be able to do it with some of them. Look, shocks could happen. Maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka next season becomes a really good right-back again. If he doesn't, he's an expensive mistake. Maybe Harry Maguire next season becomes a really good centre-back at 29. If he doesn't, he becomes an expensive mistake. Martial, we've spoken about. There are a few other players like this. I mean, some people might even throw in a Marcus Rashford in there. I've even heard people say, well, why can't Bruno be in there? So there is a lot of expensive mistakes potentially at that football club, and it's a problem. It's a very big problem for any new manager, because I don't think, if you think about Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp and how it's gone in their time at Man City and Liverpool respectively, what you can't argue is that they've been given total control. Pep Guardiola, I think, had 3 or 4 goalkeepers, 3 or 4 right-backs before he got the right one. Jurgen Klopp has had the ability to remove players he didn't want and bring players he did want in. At United, I just don't think, whoever the manager is, they can't offer that. They can't offer this clean slate, which is absolutely imperative if you want to build for success. I don't think any manager at United is going to get what Klopp or Pep or maybe Arteta's getting at Arsenal, which is that ability, that clean slate to say, get rid of those players, get me these players, let's get going. I think no matter what the scenario is with our manager this summer, we will have players that stay at this club for the next 2-3 years who shouldn't be here, but the club won't move them on because they're too expensive to move on. What if they drag this out until the end of the summer, says Cole? No. That's not going to happen. We will. Would you cash in on Rashford, Marks, as even? Well, look, we're not going to drag the managerial situation out until the end of the summer. It will be sorted out, I think, by mid-May. But I do think it's gone on too long. Would I cash in on Rashford? Look, I don't like some of the stories we're hearing. It's paper talk, but we're hearing that Rashford's one of the players that's not happy with Rangnick. I mean, I really have got no sympathy with any United player that's not happy with Rangnick or Ollie or any future manager. At the end of the day, it's a privileged position to wear a Manchester United shirt. It's the ego of some of these players that just pisses me off. You're not happy? We'll work harder then. Like, I've worked in places, I'm sure you've worked in places where your boss has certain favourites and probably doesn't appreciate you. Make them appreciate you. Some of these players that are moaning, you haven't played well this season. What do you want? Sympathy. Get well soon cards. Like, the reality is you've not played well. Moaning about a manager when you haven't played well. Look, it's Sleeping Beauty time, isn't it? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Look at yourself in the mirror, lads. Stop looking to... There's a blame culture at United, which is why so many people leak information. Everybody's desperate to blame somebody else. And the reason is Man United have manufactured this blame culture because they've also manufactured this brand culture. And if you're a brand Man United player and you want brand deals and you want social media growth, etc., you need to look good. You need to not be the villain. And the trouble is, too many of these players have become the villain this season through their own poor performance. But instead of looking in the mirror and going, I need to be better, they look in the mirror and go, who can I blame? Because I need to remain popular. Let me do this little bit of charity work. Let me leak this bit of information. And it's been going on all season. The blame culture needs to stop. The best way to stop it is to remove these players. I said it last night, though. The thing that worries me about Manchester United, and I'll read you the tweet out because I was a little bit asleep when I read it, when I wrote it. It was right before I went to sleep last night. So I do want to read you this because I thought it was sort of... Was it this one? Yeah. So this was just before I went to bed last night. The bad thing is these players aren't going to stop leaking to the press and throwing tantrums just because we get a new manager. They need clearing out. And I think that's a really interesting angle because... And I've heard a few of you say it, and you're absolutely spot on. Look, if we get Erik ten Hag, I'll be very excited, and I'm sure many of you will, and there will be a positivity wave to ride for a few weeks. Maybe even till August, because we will buy players, etc. But reality will kick in if we retain a lot of these players. These players are not going to suddenly stop what they're doing because we get a new manager in. They might do for a little bit, new manager, but as soon as we start the season and he can only pick 11 of those 24 players, those 13 players that aren't playing, they're not going to be happy. And the leaks will start and the bad tantrums will start again. The only way to solve this is to remove these players from the club. And I don't think we'll be able to remove them all. So whoever the manager is, there will be problems in the future. Because some of these players have proven over recent years that when the going gets tough, they blame people and start causing problems. Mutiny. That's not going to change. Just because we're happy that we've got a new manager that we can get behind, these players aren't suddenly going to go, yeah, everything's okay. They've learnt this bad attitude. They've learnt this bad behaviour. And I think it will continue until we remove them from the club. Whether any manager would be given authority to do that, because it would cost the club so much money to do it. I mean, look, take, for example, a player that's cost £60 million. You'll note you won't be able to figure who that is because we haven't spent £60 million on anyone. But if I've spent £60 million on a Man United player and 2 years later, they're clearly not good enough, but they've cost me 60 million quid and they're on 150 grand a week, and I go to the market and I say, anyone want to buy him? And it's just tumbleweed. And I come back to the manager and I go, you know that player you want to get rid of who's a bit of a troublemaker? Well, we only paid £60 million for him 2 years ago. He's on a 5-year contract on 150 grand a week and nobody wants him. So we either write off 60 million and pay off his wages at a cost of about 10-15 million pounds, or you're going to have to get on with him. See you later. We've booked you a table at Pizza Express. I mean... And that's the and unfortunately we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players like that within the squad that we cannot get rid of, who've almost proved themselves not good enough. That's a lot. That's a lot for a job. That's a lot for a manager to do. Here's 8 or 9 players that we've got that we're absolutely invested into the hilt. We can't get rid of them, and they don't look like they're good enough. Work your magic. Do 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 do. We need Harry Potter. I am doing career mode today, Dan. I've just got to go and collect Seb from school, so I'm going to be a little bit later today. But FIFA career mode, instead of starting at 3:10, we'll be starting at about 20 to 4. So it will happen, but it's going to be about half an hour late on Twitch. I will tweet it out. So there is a career mode. Yeah, a few people are asking about that. Okay, what else have we got? Just caught up with this morning's show. Have to say it was funny and powerful. Fletcher Seal Beach Ball. It's funny because it's true. Keep it up, says Andrew O'Brien. Well, look, thanks everyone for all your support. I mean, I think one of the big questions I get asked at the moment is, and I suppose you've got to ask it yourself, what's your reaction going to be on the 2 managerial prospects? One of them is going to make me very, very happy and positive at a time where I actually think we should be feeling very negative and pissed off. This season has been a car crash. It's been horrific. But if they appoint Ten Hag, I will actually get positive. I can't help it. I think it's an exciting new direction, and I think we've got to give it a go. So if they appoint him in the next few weeks, I'm going to be ridiculously excited and positive. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm honest. If we appoint the other guy, I think I will... I don't think I'm going to go live and go, fucking this club, this, that and the other. I think it would be worse. I think sometimes when you rant, it shows that you have an emotional attachment to it. I think my problem is if we appoint Pochettino is I will be just like, I mean, I don't know until it happens. I know I'll be very disappointed, but I think I'll just be like, nothing's changing at this football club. It's so depressing. So look, I don't know. People ask me, and I just don't know. I think basically very excited with one, very, very fed up if it's the other one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I don't know. What I'm absolutely convinced about is that with Ten Hag, it's an uncertain future. With Pochettino, I'm absolutely nailed on confident that he'll be gone in 3 years, and that it'll be more of the same, where we're fighting for fourth. Maybe we do get fourth, but we're never going to get anywhere where we need to go. And maybe that flatlining thing is what the club want. I mean, it was Arsenal's dream for 10 years, wasn't it, under Wenger? As long as you get us fourth, we're happy. But we can't do that again after 10 years of trying to do that. So we'll have to wait and see. Anywho, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Remember 7 o'clock tonight, because I'm doing the double watch along on That's Football at 8. So we've got a 7 o'clock show for you tonight. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Big reminder that if you want to join the members club and get a little badge next to your name, you're very welcome. Click the join button, but also go to the community tab, because you can vote for the exclusive video you're going to get on the members section tomorrow. The head-to-heads are going to be on there, and they're going to be voted for by you. So thanks everyone who supports the channel. Take care everyone. I am going to be playing career mode, Man United career mode, but it's going to be a little bit later today. It's probably going to be about 20 to 4 by the time I'm ready. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thank you very much. Take care.